My name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a review for episode 7 of The Apprentice. So at the beginning of the episode we found out by Sahil, so he obviously got the phone call that they were going to be off to St. Paul's for the next challenge with Danny and Marnie saying that they obviously potentially wanted to shine as the project manager, and Danny said that she wasn't going to waste the outfit on not being project manager, so let's see if she ended up putting herself forward. So we found out that the task was at St. Paul's Cathedral, and the task was for both teams to create a children's lunchbox directed between 6 and 8-year-olds as their target market, and they were also going to create an app to obviously showcase healthy eating. So on Team Apex we obviously had Megan, Mark, Marnie, Danny and Simba. And obviously on Team Infinity, we had Bradley, Marnie, Sahil, Rochelle and Abby. So there was a little bit of a switch in terms of the teams, but that's pretty much where we were as of now. Sahil and Marnie had a quick chat, and obviously the two of them were fighting themselves for the project manager, and with Sahil saying that he's obviously got previous martial arts experience and he's been around young people quite a lot, but obviously Marnie said that she had the kind of design concept and she is in the kind of designy world, so she could bring that. So both of them had their pros, but obviously it depended who was going to step forward the most. And then for the other team, Danny said that she wanted to obviously take the reins on the task, and she said that she had an idea of potentially having like a secret garden, and with the catchphrase or the name of the character being called Munch, it's kind of like Munch loves lunch. And Victoria said that obviously the target market was for the 6 to 8-year-olds, and she wasn't sure if this whole caterpillar thing showcased more preschool vibes. And then obviously it was Sahil that became the project manager over Marnie. He asked the team for ideas, and Marnie suggested some sort of treasure chest idea with obviously different fruits along the way to obviously suggest something healthy. And it turned out that Sahil had pretty much exactly the same idea, just kind of like a basic version of it. So Marnie was a bit like, okay, it's almost like you've been at school and someone's just like copied your homework but just changed it a little bit. So I wouldn't say she wasn't happy, but she wasn't not happy. Like she kind of was a bit like, oh, someone's taken my idea. For Danny's team, she decided that Simba was going to be the sub-team leader, and for Marnie's team, she actually said that she wanted to be on the brand and logo team, with Sahil originally putting her on the app team, and Rochelle was the sub-team leader. So you had Rochelle, Marnie, and I think it was Avi who were on that team together as a 3. And Rochelle basically said to Marnie and Avi that she didn't think that any of them were in the right teams, with Marnie saying that she wanted to be on the design team. Again, she did fight her case, but Sahil didn't budge. And then obviously with Marnie and Rochelle, when the 3 of them, along with Avi, were obviously doing the design, I think it's because Marnie wanted to be the sub-team leader that she naturally was just trying to take a lead, but it's kind of every time Rochelle was trying to say something, Marnie would speak over it. So for example, one of the things they were creating was, I think it was like a crown or something, and there was something that needed to be duplicated, and Marnie just kind of butt in and said, don't worry about copying and pasting, like we need to have this colour and that colour and things like that. So I think Rochelle suggested purple. She needed obviously the lunchbox to be interactive, and Marnie basically, yeah, I think she was just struggling because she wasn't the sub-team leader, or that's what Rochelle thought as well. Obviously with Victoria, Simba and Megan, and Victoria said that they need to make the caterpillar look as human as possible, because like I said, they are targeting the 6 to 8-year-olds, not the babies. And they said that things like shoes or a watch or something like that could be something that they add, and a backwards cap to obviously make it a little bit more cool. Simba also noticed that the caterpillar was naked, but obviously it's part of nature, so I think they put a pair of trousers on him. So for the creative team, Danny and Mark from Simba went to Isabel Creative Agency, and obviously they wanted to do their design. I think Mark suggested the colour of white. Obviously Danny said that was quite boring, so they ended up going for something like a green or a yellow or a red or something like that. And then Danny also suggested having a bite mark outside for the lunchbox, so it kind of looks like the caterpillar has bitten into the lunchbox. And I think the only issue here was that obviously a lunchbox needs to be able to fit a lunch, but it took off half of, well, not half of the box, but like a bite of the box, which meant there was less space for other things. And then, yeah, with Sahil and Bradley, so from Team Infinity, they wanted, the 2 of them obviously were on the design team for creating their lunchbox, and Sahil said that he wanted the primary colour to obviously be brown, because obviously treasure chests are brown, but I think Bradley kind of said that they didn't need to be brown, like you need something that's a little bit more vibrant and colourful. And I think this is when Bradley suggested having like a wood coloured brown. So instead of it just being plain brown, having like some sort of, yeah, like a wooden floor kind of design on the box to make it look a bit more stylish. And yeah, so Hale basically said, no, I don't like that idea. And then he said having it brown makes it look different and unique, which it definitely does. It makes it look different and unique, but not necessarily in a good way. And Karen actually said that it felt like they should have let Marnie come to the design team, because it was literally two blokes sitting in a suit who wanted to have a brown treasure chest that didn't look great. With Marnie, Rochelle and Avi, obviously again Marnie kind of put her ideas forward, saying that she thought they should have questions for a quiz in order to win keys. With Rochelle saying that the first question could be something like, what is a calorie? With Marnie going, it's a form of measurement. So they kind of got on here with the questions part. And then with the other team, obviously Megan and Simba pretty much took a lead. So Megan said it should be something colour coordinated. Simba was thinking of the different logos to have for the health or the energy or the thirstiness or whatever. And Victoria suggested some sort of scoreboard element, with Megan saying they're one step closer to reaching their full potential. So I think for their team, so for Team Apex, they obviously went for the caterpillar idea. So they have the caterpillar lunchbox, the caterpillar game, and throughout the game, the more you feed the caterpillar, the bigger he gets, and he turns into a butterfly. And then with the other team, they obviously had a treasure chest, and it was more of the answering questions about different health related questions. So that's kind of what I understood from both of the tasks. So with Marnie back on Team Apex again, she obviously, along with the other two, wanted to have some sort of underwater theme, but they spent about 5 or 10 minutes actually just choosing a background, with Avi saying that they've got the whole animation to do. They didn't have enough time to add music, and again, Marnie was taking the lead when it should have been Rochelle. And then Sahil said to Bradley that he had the idea of going with the name of Platinum Pirate Adventures for their lunchbox, which doesn't sound catchy. You've got the PNP, so the alliteration, but it doesn't sound like, oh, hi Mum and Dad, can you buy me a Platinum Pirate Adventure lunchbox? They wouldn't know what that means. And Bradley said that something like Pirate Fresh or Treasure Fresh or something like that would have been good. But he did say that none of his ideas were listened to. The name doesn't match what they're set out to do, and obviously PPA, it doesn't really sound like a kids-friendly brand. Danny, obviously, with Mark again, were creating the logo, so she kind of took a main lead on this, having different fruits with different bold titles for each of the letters. And she says she wanted something that was plain and simple and not overcomplicated. And I think this is where Tim basically said, yeah, it's almost too simple. Like what they've created was almost like something for babies. So very simple, but a little bit too simple. And then obviously for Simba, back on Team Apex, he did a little rap singing about how obviously young kids can be healthy, and how obviously 5 a day keeps the doctor away, which is something I'm literally not going to get out of my head. It's like 5 a day keeps the doctor away, 5 a day keeps the doctor away. And Marnie was obviously trying to give Abby some instructions for their video, with Rochelle saying that they need to just get it recorded as soon as possible. There was too many different things and specific actions and things that she wanted to get done, when Rochelle was just like, look, Abby, do what you can, get it recorded, and then let's go. Again, with Victoria and Danny, she basically said that obviously it feels like they're pitching to 2 to 3 year olds, and she said it doesn't really seem like for older kids. And she said to Danny that she wanted to point this out now because obviously it was going to be mentioned in their pitches. And Danny said that the lunchbox would just be for their packed lunch sandwiches. It wouldn't necessarily be for the whole lunchbox meal, it'd just be for the sandwiches. Everything else would just be in your normal lunchbox bag. Rochelle said that obviously even she struggled with the brand name, so kind of didn't agree with Sahil on the Platinum Treasure Chest name, and that they could have used the word lunchbox in the name. Marnie also said that she was obviously angry that she wasn't on the design team, with Simba's rap being appreciated at least by Mark, so that was obviously a good sign there. Back to Megan again, so obviously she explained what the game was for the caterpillar game, and it was more as the bigger that Larry got, obviously the better that the reward was, and at the end he turned into a butterfly, with Danny saying that it just seems to be all about client feedback, which is the most important thing. On the other team, obviously Brad said that they didn't really finish, that he finished the game, but obviously what happens now, like you get all these keys, but there's no actual ending for the game, with Marnie saying that the box wasn't even open, and Rochelle saying that there was no music, and obviously the game was pretty boring. So they finished the game, but there was no ending. the keys didn't actually do anything, and there was also no music. So I think that just kind of sets up a failed task within itself, that they couldn't actually get the creative things done. And it was Sahil and Brad that did the pitch for their brand, and it was Marnie, Rochelle and Abby who did this consumer research. Marnie said that obviously they hope they can go into the pitch with confidence, because obviously if they bring negative energy from the pitch, it's going to make everyone feel a bit negative. And then for Team Apex in the pitch, it was Megan, Victoria and Simba. So Victoria said obviously they wanted something that had kind of like a positive influence for lunch, and they also, the panelists didn't really look impressed by the rap, and I think Victoria kind of had a little bit of a struggle getting her words out. So she knew what she was trying to say, or I'm guessing she knew what she wanted to try and say, but she kind of had a little bit of a blip there. And Simba said that obviously if you invest in the product, then you'll be happy as Larry. So nice little caption there at the end. I just think the pitch was a little bit weak. And then some of the panellists said that they weren't sure if a 7-year-old would play the game, and Victoria said that she thinks it appeals to the older ages of children, which obviously some of them disagreed with. And they also said that it was a bit of an awkward shape for a lunchbox, with Megan saying that obviously the square sandwiches has been done many times before, and hopefully they can inspire the new generation of young people to have not squared shaped sandwiches, so maybe something that would then incorporate within their box, so they've got this new item that actually changes the course of sandwiches forever. And then obviously for Sahil and Bradley, when they did their pitch, Sahil basically kept mentioning that it was a prototype and they were going to continue making changes, add handles and logos and things, and the panelists basically said, well, it's a lot of prototype and a lot of what you're going to do, and it just sounds like the two of them were making stuff up on the spot. They also asked whether the leaderboard had actually come up on the screen, and again Bradley said it is in a work in progress at the moment. One of them said that the box is very brown and there was no incentive to purchase it, with Sahil saying that the treasure chest isn't any other colour than brown, and I think the comeback for that was, yeah, but you can make the treasure box any colour you want. It doesn't have to be the colour of the actual item. You could make, I don't know, a green treasure box, or like it doesn't have to be the exact colour of the actual original item. And then at the end of this the pitch, Bradley asked Sahil how it went, kind of, I think sarcastically, because he kind of knew it didn't go well, and he just wanted to hear it from Sahil's mouth. With Mark and Danny, obviously they gave their feedback, and apparently the game was worse than the rapping. The best part for the children was when it was over, and the lunchbox obviously seemed very childish. And then obviously for Marnie, Avi and Rochelle, the children said it wasn't the best game. Only one kid would want their parents to buy them the lunchbox. The colour brown is boring, the title sounds like a theme park, and obviously nobody likes the logo. So I think quite bad feedback for both of the products there. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily know which one's worse. I think both teams worked really, really well, but I think Team Apex just had that little bit more vibe working together. So I think with Team Infinity, they were kind of a bit like, I wouldn't say they were the weaker team. I think there was just misinterpretation and disagreements within both of the teams. Obviously Sahil was trying to take a lead on a project where the item was just boring looking, and then obviously you had Rochelle and Marnie who were both trying to take a lead, and they ended up just talking over each other, with Avi just kind of there. Obviously with that team again, Avi said that 1 out of 9 would sound like 11%. So 1 out of 9 is basically an 11% that would purchase the lunchbox. So to focus on the percentages rather than just saying, yeah, one kid would want the box. And Sahil said that he wanted to choose Marnie for the pitch, with Avi saying that obviously after his success of being in pitches, he thinks that he should be in the pitch, but it ended up, yeah, being Sahil, Marnie and Bradley, I think was the third one. So obviously for their second pitch, it was Victoria and Simba that did their initial speech. And obviously, again, the client said that the caterpillar shouts preschool, the human-like features are quite scary, and Danny said that they should be able to transfer the Larry from the logo to the application if they wanted it to look a little bit more for older children, so that's something they would be able to do. And then obviously for Sahil, Marnie and Bradley, the whole branding doesn't really relate to healthy eating. That's when Marnie just said 1 out of the 9 children would have wanted to get the product. From their research, they should have just said 11% because it sounds a little bit better. With Rochelle saying that it sounded like they were talking over each other, Avi just went no, because he realised that Marnie had just kind of outed how bad their idea was. And at the end, Marnie basically said that Sahil has to take accountability for the failure of the task, with Megan saying if in the boardroom they lose, Danny is responsible because again they didn't aim the product at the right demographic. In the boardroom, Danny said that obviously she wanted to find a problem and make a solution for it, and she was quickly corrected as not finding a problem but finding an issue, and obviously making a solution for it. And she did actually let Mark have an input to the task this time. Victoria said that obviously she felt the idea was a little bit preschool, and Simba said that the tutorial of the game and obviously showing the app was something that they kind of all created together, and it was him that kind of, did that tutorial for Lord Sugar. The first retailer, Victoria, said that she did struggle on the speech. It was the first time of her doing it, but she feels like she probably can do better in the future. And then with the other team, Sahel said the name of the lunchbox was Platinum Pirate Adventures, which Lord Sugar obviously took the mick out of, calling it PPA. It sounding like some sort of face wipes or something. And then again, he said he wanted to choose brown, otherwise it wouldn't look like a treasure box. Rochelle said that the game was fun, and Avi said in the game the character had a nice smile, which Lord Sugar kind of said that it kind of looked like he was scared rather than happy. And they wanted to add sound effects and music, but obviously, they didn't have enough time, and the game had no conclusion. And Rochelle basically said that if she wouldn't have had an eye on the time, they wouldn't have even had an app to start with. So I think for Rochelle, I think she did have a lot to deal with. She had Avi talking, she had Marnie giving all these great ideas, she also had to keep an eye on the time, and she had to make sure that all three of them did have their input, but not too much that they ran out of time. So I think it was good with her on timekeeping, but it's a bit of a difficult three because I think they're all quite talkative, so that's why they didn't really get much of that done. So Hale said that he felt like they were trying to describe something that obviously wasn't delivered, and it just had a lot of prototypes, and he kind of just said, there was loads of things that we obviously wanted to fix and sort out, but again, we didn't really have time to do that. For the retailer, Infinity got no orders from the first retailer, and for Team Apex, they wanted to do a test order, so they bought 1,000 of the Caterpillar lunchboxes, and again, they stuck with Team Apex, and the online branding said they liked the brand and they liked the app, so they ordered another 500. So in total they got 1,500, and for Infinity, their online brand or client gave lots of feedback. None of it was good and actually made no orders. So Team Apex won, which meant that all 5 of Danny, Mark, Victoria, Simba and Megan were going through to the next round, and they were going to be going to a science themed afternoon where Danny said that she was glad to win the task as project manager. If there was any spare of the cupcakes, they would put them in their lunchbox, and Victoria said it would have been better if they would have had a better lunchbox to begin with, and then they would have probably even had even more orders than they already had. And then I think straight away Sahel questioned why the app was not finished. They were agreeing with each other about some things, but they were just running out of time. And Sahel said he wanted to have the word pirate in the title, with Bradley saying that he felt like they were making a lunchbox, not a cartoon. And Bradley said that obviously Sahel had a bit of a weak concept, with Sahel saying the execution of the project wasn't great. Bradley said, again, he also wanted to add a wood grain, and everything he suggested was obviously being ignored and wasn't added. So I think, the blame kind of is all stemming back to Sahel kind of not listening and not leading, not managing, and people not being able to get their words out. And it was told that the game was not fun and there was no conclusion. Again, Marnie said that it was down to poor time management, not down to her disruption, which actually her disruption was actually to try and get things to work or get things to be finished. So if anyone's to blame, it's definitely not her. And Rochelle said that they seemed to be looking at images of underwater scenes, which obviously took a lot of time. Again, that's what Marnie had decided. Sahel basically said that him, Bradley and Marnie were obviously in the speech, but again, the speech was a bit weak. And Avi said that the 1 out of 9 stat was what he wanted to say in the speech, as opposed to what Marnie said. They should have mentioned it as 11%, they shouldn't have mentioned it as 1 out of 9. And Bradley said that they had an unfinished product, which is why they obviously failed the task. So I think in the end, Sahel decided to bring in Bradley and Marnie, and obviously Lord Sugar had a chat with Tim and Karen. Obviously Sahel, they said he put people in the wrong team, and he said that he stands by the product even though it literally had no sales. Bradley, obviously, they said that hindsight is obviously a wonderful thing about the things they should and shouldn't have done. He didn't really do anything to that task, adding that he was quite weak. And obviously with Marnie, obviously it was a bit of a mistake with the market research, saying that only 1 of the young kids wanted to buy the lunchbox rather than going in with a percentage. So Sahel straight away said that he brought in Marnie due to disruption, when obviously it was Rochelle's responsibility to create the app, and without being there, she basically said he was just listening to somebody else's words. And then Sahel said that obviously Bradley was sitting there quite quietly and also did nothing, with Bradley saying that he actually had a number 1 idea, with Lord Sugar saying, oh, was your idea DEA, don't expect anything. And he also went on to say that the project manager needed to take responsibility. Marnie said that obviously the strategic placing of people was bad from the outset, kind of putting the wrong people in the wrong teams. So Bradley maybe shouldn't have been in the design team, and definitely Sahel shouldn't have. and maybe Marnie and Rochelle, or maybe Marnie and Avi would have been better in that. So Lord Sugar said to Sahil that obviously he is a good talker, but had a poor product, that he was still standing behind even after the sales was 0. He said that Marnie sounded like she was a little bit disruptive, and that Brad was saying all the things that they could and should have done, rather than actually having it done. Lord Sugar said that obviously Bradley needs to start performing, otherwise he'll be out, and it was Sahil that was fired from the process. He said obviously it was one of the hardest fights that he's ever been in before, but he's going to win one soon. With Rochelle saying that she thought it was a double firing, and Avi saying that either Brad or Sahil would be on their way home. So obviously everyone came back, apart from Sahil, and then we found out there was only 9 people left. So that was pretty much it for episode 7. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. There will be another review coming very, very soon of episode 8. But until then, thank you for watching and goodbye.